Life's never been kind to Polly. She started on hard mode and her luck was zero. She and her sister Alice lived most of their lives in an orphanage, where their lives got even tougher. Another thing which made Polly's life worse is her muteness. She could neither explain nor defend herself when the caregiver Valentina took any Polly's action as a personal insult. Valentina was less of a caregiver and more of a Mr. X from Resident Evil, and her only goal was to chase away everybody's happiness. Her strict rules turned every side eye or misstep into beatings. Another Polly's sadistic archenemy Margot always had ways to spoil Polly's life, usually by setting up the girl at any unreasonable chance. So Polly had to be taken to the beating room again. Polly and Alice got sick and tired of living in that hell and made up with a plan to burn down the whole place and escape through the parking lot. Their plan worked out pretty well, except for three things. They got separated during the escape, the police started looking for the notorious arsonists, and Alice got lost after the escape. They agreed to meet on the opposite shore. Polly made it, but it's been almost a day since Alice is missing and hasn't responded to messages. So instead of leaving this town, Polly takes the risk of her freedom and heads back to the orphanage to find out what happened to her sister. In her dream, she sees a white wolf, which takes her lighter. It was the only memory about Alice. After sleep, she sees no other way but to follow the animal. A wanted, lonely girl in an unknown shady district is already dangerous, but there are far more dangerous creatures out there in the wild. The cops. She needs something to protect her with. A lost skateboard will do. Since Polly's trying to stay unnoticed, she must go through one of running down buildings, which is a natural habitat for drunk creeps. One of them finds his prey. Sadly, Polly's most hardwired reaction is to duck and wait for the end. This time it worked, and the drunkard's friends urgently need him back for another shot. She follows the wolf's tracks into the ditch. You must be really desperate to jump in there. But she is, because the cops recognized her. The next second, that drunkard falls out of the window and distracts those cops. It buys Polly some time to keep it together and jump down. Honestly, I'm surprised she didn't break anything. You know what else can be broken? A lock under her. At first glance, you'd think Polly is extremely lucky girl to survive a fall, head down. Don't be fooled, since now Polly's luck has gone into negative. She finds herself at the entrance to the place which is called Abyss. By the looks of it, I'd say it's hell. This place is under control of the Tormented One. He is locked in a golden cage, but still powerful enough to put Polly on a leash. He provides his help to get out of this world safe and sound. Polly will be granted boons to slay 3 guardians of 3 locks, and in exchange, the girl can return to her world. Or she can decline the offer, and the policeman will eventually find her corpse on the bottom of the ditch. Seems like Polly has no choice but to accept his help. The thing is, this place makes the orphanage look like a spa retreat. Besides personal demons Polly has to face, this world is torn by war between 2 fighting factions. The rebels, who emit blue aura around them so you can easily recognize they are good guys, and hostile, violent fog fighters who emit red light and wear different masks as some sign of hierarchy. Based on the letters Polly finds around the place, some of these fog fighters used to be cops in the previous life. To help on my way, the Tormented One grants me a revolver, which ammo capacity can be upgraded throughout the game. The revolver is one of the ways to emphasize how well shooting in this game is, and I can't stress it enough. For the record, the whole game is made by a solo developer. Gameplay is smooth and tough. Enemies have ragdoll physics that make every punch feel real. They can dodge your attacks or fight back if you get too bold. Once they start limping, you can finish them off until bare bones stay behind. What's more, amount of witty and great puzzles this game hides is a chef's kiss. Every soundtrack slaps and every corner screams lore. So much so you want to explore every dark corner and, in most cases, get punished for that with the red fog. But still, attention to details is insanely thought over, even where it didn't have to. And no man, I didn't even describe 50% of what this game has. You'll see it yourself if you keep watching. Or else. From books I find here and there are about 5 levels of citizens in Abyss. At the bottom there are hostile, brainless, evil spirits who are kind of parasites here. On the next level, souls of sinners who are sentient and can rank up by blood of insectoid demons I am after. Those insectoid demons are placed almost at the top of the food chain. Their blood not only will make you stronger and resilient, but at the same time a sought after imp. Wearing horns makes you an imp. It also lifts you above regular sinners, because they can perform rituals to gain more special abilities. As a drawback, imp body parts are wanted on black markets. Some imps can't stand this existence resistance being on the run 24/7, so they end their life, and even then their bodies can be used as a sacrifice to perform dark arts. And of course at the top there is the Tormented One. He seems to see and know everything, but is limited by his cage. That's why he wants to break free. There are a few friendly imp boys, Kai and Kato. The second proves why imps are not something you can easily deal with, because the centipede demon, which is my first target, is trying to feed on him. Kato's special diet made his superpowers develop, and since then he can teleport to any place he wants. Presence of the centipede means I'm close to its nest. However, the closer I get to the demon nest, the more distorted shapes of Alice I see, which can mean two things. I am either manipulated into a deadly trap or Alice is somewhere in hell. I find the first demon on a roof with a picturesque view of the town. Ringing the bell means you're ready to face the demon and get a step closer to the top of the food chain. A few minutes into the battle, and I can clearly see why nobody wants to mess with these creatures. It's tanky, and it chases me relentlessly, and it almost doesn't care how many bullets I land. Moreover, it can summon the spirits to make my life worse. When the creature is done, I am instantly teleported back to my boss's chamber, where he performs the ritual I never knew I needed. Bathing in the centipede's blood grants me horns and improves my stamina. As a cherry on top, the abyss welcomes me now, which means more ways will open before me. My next stop is the Old Town, which is a command center of the Fog Fighters, from where they launch their rockets to bombard the rebels. Conveniently, the second demon made its nest there. It sounds like everything aligned, and I just walk into the place and smash everything to pieces, unless there is no entrance to the town anybody is aware of. It takes a bit of digging around, and I find a secret passage, even deeper underground. All the teenagers of the Abyss have gathered in this famous spot. Kato and his brother Kai. They challenge me to ride on the skate to the town, which introduces another forgotten mechanic, skateboarding. I mean, why don't we have more skateboarding in games? I mean, it's simplified and reminds Subway surfers, though the novelty it brings is admirable. You dodge obstacles, boxes and collect as much money as you can, which adds the pleasurable time spending in between fights. After that riding, you can't help realizing skateboard is a kind of transport. Duh. The next thought that crosses your mind is, why is there not more of skating on the roofs or in the neighborhoods, so it's used more as a way of fun movement rather than a weapon. The Old Town is the main command center of the Fog, and as expected, it's so grim and depressive you'd hate to be alone on the streets. It holds more fighters, evil spirits and traps of all kinds than ever, which makes it a challenge to both your fighting and survival skills, because you'll be running out of curatives every other fight. The Fog soldiers are aware of the intruder, and they use any weapon at their disposal, including missiles, to get rid of Polly. Unfortunately, her first instinct in the face of grave danger is sit tight and hold her hand. The Tormented One pauses time to remind her of her mission. Basically, it's his version of a pop-up tutorial. She is too precious to waste her potential by mere dread. She has to get stronger and face her fears. After witnessing new binding spirits that chain you up to their body and keep you close to crush, I go deeper underground to hide from them and missiles. Who would have thought it would be a forgotten ritual site where I get insect wings? However, Polly's ability to control her wings are far from great, and she needs her revolver's recoil to direct herself in the air, which complicates things sometimes, but it adds so much more fun later in the game when I'll have to combine everything I've learned and prove my prowess. On the surface, I see the place where they launch missiles from, and my mission is to send coordinates of this place to rebels, so they can respond with a massive attack. Kato and Kai have been helping the Fog Fighters with supplies, and the very moment they came here bringing the missiles to load, the rebels' attack hits them. The Tormented One told me to stay out of this fight. After all, the Abyss was always in a constant fight for balance. Evil fights against good, and it's never going to change. Place is in ruins, and up ahead lies injured Kai. In his case, it's another Tuesday, but it's always Tuesday in here. Kato reacted fast enough to teleport himself out of the explosion, but Kai doesn't have any supernatural abilities. He's just a simple imp who is missing a leg after the explosion. However, worry not, an imp can recover their limbs and bodies if they consume a preserved demonic larva egg. I chose this cruel path, and I can't stay out of this, especially when Kai needs help. He maybe works for the Fog, but he did nothing bad to me, so I want to give him a hand. I have to carry him through the battlefield, while the Fog launchers are trying to retaliate for their bases and aim specifically at me. I wonder whether they'd spare me if they knew I was dragging Kai. While dragging Kai through the literal Second World War stage, we find a shelter where we can take a breather. Until the dust settles, we have a few minutes, and Kai opens up about the life he had to choose. He didn't even want to become an imp, and he is allergic to eating anything demonic, Sadly, in his family, becoming an imp to grow horns is an honor. Their father convinced Kato to smuggle for the fog, who doesn't mind helping them and he enjoys being powerful, so he consumes those demonic larvae to develop special abilities like teleportation. Since Kai doesn't eat it, he's just a decoration in his family. Their house is on the swamp, and I need to be careful not to drown Kai in the water while dragging him through it. You know, it's my personal opinion, but I think he needs to try to consume demonic larva, because his lungs are the size of a cat's, so fast he runs out of oxygen. Everything in this place is against me, and I shouldn't forget that. As far as I can tell, Two Brothers' father is on the Fox side, since he watches their channel, but at least he's disabled enough not to attack me straight away. Instead, he demands to bring some larva tincture from the attic. When bringing it back, I can't resist the temptation and take a peek behind the locked door. This family is breeding insectoid demons and eggs inside their house. That's how Kato is able to fuel up his powers. As a matter of fact, the demon they've been keeping has grown enough to be consumed and cured the father's disability after he turns into an imp. The demon's size is the problem though. Kato teleports back home and snitches on me that I work for the rebels. The same moment that huge soul sucker breaks the locks and takes the father to its nest. Kato is lying on the floor unconscious and Kai begs me to save their father. Okay, let me think. Nah, I'm not running a charity in hell. The devil mosquito is on the roof and while drinking blood of the father, he grows horns somehow. I guess even a demon's contact to blood is enough to become an imp. This fight is a culmination of everything I've learned so far. First, I need to break the eggs that keep the spikes on my left. When the spikes are gone, I can progress to the ritual site and later, when everything is ready, grow wings to reach the next spot. For now, I have to make the demon to throw explosive at me and demolish the tower in the middle. That tower holds another ritual site to summon spikes and show my enemies what I felt when they stung me. This new ritual will buy me some time while the demon is recovering its powers. I'll be able to fly behind the locked gates and open it to bring the father's body to the sacrifice spot, where finally I'll shoot the cannon and explode the mosquito together with its nest. The demon is slain. The tormented one grants me another upgrade, a tail and extra stamina to make more consecutive attacks. Kato and Kai are already on the roof, mourning over their father's body. Kato blames me for angering the mosquito demon, because usually they're not that aggressive. Guys, sure think it gets aggressive. Your father listens to dubstep 24/7. If the mosquito's been locked since its birth in the basement, then it raises one important question. How could this demon lock the tormented one in his cage if it was caged since birth? The tormented one lied? But what for? I mean, we could have a deal without his lies. I'd free him in exchange for my freedom anyway. I give away the tincture to restore brother's lost limbs, and Kato does what a real demon would do. He sends coordinates to his fog friends so they can attack the underground shelter where the rebels are hiding. Fool me once, shame on me. Well, but I'm not going to learn my lesson. I'll be fooled and tricked time and time again. I rush back to the underground to try to warn the rebels about the ambush, but I get back too late. There are only fog soldiers and traps everywhere left. I go deep into the underground looking for anyone and meet my IE friend, shaking in fear. I brought him his music box once and since then we've been best friends forever. We are both mute too. Polly feels sorry for making this mess and she regrets she will never see Alice again. The eye guy seems to know what to do and opens the way to the orphanage where everything started. And that's where starts the best part of the game for me. I'll have to learn what happened to Alice after the fire started, being in the real Little Nightmares type of horror. The place feels empty, there is no fog fighters, evil spirits or imps. There is only evil in the air, pulsing meat guts blocking some ways, and creepy creaks all around that wouldn't let you relax your sphincter. If you think that the orphanage looks like another circle of hell in the abyss, then you should know it always looked like that. Slowly I realized why Polly decided to burn this place to the ground. Turns out the director was a regular drinker, even at work. He was trying to intoxicate himself to oblivion and stop thinking about services their orphanage provided for their rich patrons. Nobody from the personnel batted an eye when somebody of the patrons had special needs to spend some time alone with children. Add that to the constant abuse from peers. Then there was the main villain of this place, Mrs. Valentina herself, who physically abused children for misdemeanor. She never showed mercy to children, to even try to tame her sadistic tendencies. The only kind person was the handicraft teacher, who was ready to provide emotional help or support to children in need, Polly included. You see, the craft class was allowed only for the boys, so when Polly sneaked into the class to carve a wooden bear, she risked being locked in the basement as a punishment. However, the craft teacher made a mistake by showing her what instrument to pick to do it better. They were spotted straight away by that evil bitch Margot, who snitched to Mrs. Valentina that Polly fell for the teacher and the only only humane adult was kicked out in disgrace. Even if there was somebody kind in Polly's life, he was doomed to disappear. Looking for keys to open locked doors, I can't put my mind to rest over how awful this place feels. For a second, I catch myself on a thought that I'd rather fight with the fox soldiers in the old town to no end. And that's when it gets worse. I hear heels clicking, which means only one thing. The greatest abuser, Mrs. Valentina, is here. When I proceed to the canteen, I hear somebody breathing. It's her. She's turned into a hulking, burned piece of meat in pink heels, as if her hideous soul was exposed. Since now, not only I'll have to hide from Valentina, I'll have to look for new ways to open locked doors and feed that disfigured boy as well. The boy's intestines are growing all over the building. When he's fed enough, the guts explode and they can open new ways. As a cherry on the top, that creeping horror Valentina is unstoppable, and she reacts to loud noises, like gunshots or gut explosions. I'll have to be extra careful while doing all of that and also change pants when she pops up in the hallways like that. She's crispy, but not stupid. Hunting instincts apparently survive cremation. After she realizes I'm too quick for her, she places bear traps all over the place. Guess what happens if I get into one of those? She drags Polly back to her torture room for some DIY surgery. Her skills from previous life came in handy. The surgery decreases my stamina and actually means that killing one of the demons was useless. In fact, I could have avoided that punishment if I hadn't made a mistake of getting into one of her traps. Even now she teaches me a lesson. I need the larva tincture to recover from the injury. If I'm caught in her trap the second time, my journey simply ends. Being in that place, Polly recalls that they were told that some children got adopted. A while after, there were rumors that some of those adopted children were sedated and brought to this operation room to be sold for organs. The cages with numbers outside this room prove that rumor was real. When I felt that I'm used to this horrifying place, there was she, Margot herself. Although she is missing her hands due to the fire, she is able to throw up some toxic liquid from her disgusting cake hole. I can't fight her just yet, she's too strong, so I go downstairs to the parking lot, from where, according to Polly's plan, children and Alice had to escape. That's where we learned why Polly was sent to hell in the first place, because in my worldview, setting Mrs. Valentina and Margot on fire sends you to heaven. Polly's plan was almost perfect. Besides one fact, the escape was planned on the night between Sunday and Monday, so it means the parking lot was locked that night and nobody could get in or get out. Hence, Polly burned down the orphanage together with the trapped children, employees, and Alice. She came up with the plan that killed everybody she loved or cared. The tormented one can't stay aside, and he summons her to his void. One more demon and Polly will be free of pain, embraced by the fog, he says. Being embraced by the fog wasn't in our contract. If Margot was burned to a crisp and got here in her current state, maybe Alice is somewhere here too. I'll beat the answers out of Margot first and then the tormented one. All the demons are hiding on the roof. Margot is no exception. It would be stupid to believe in everything she says, but I've never had problems with that. After consuming Mrs. Valentina, Margot reveals that the tormented one told her where to look for revenge on Polly. She vomits at me and I know I have one more reason to speak to my boss about my employment. I'm very unsatisfied. I found this boss battle the most unfair and unbalanced. If for some time you can dodge her toxic spits easily, in the second half of the battle she will bite off parts of the roof and I'll have to walk a thin plank not to fall down. If I do fall down, I have to start this fight all over again. And trust me, you'll be falling very often. When I shoot the last stake into her head, she goes down in the flames without giving me any answer. However, the tormented one convinces me Alice is alive and well on the other side of the shore, in the summer camp. Yeah, right, I'd literally do anything else but not helping that guy, but I have nothing else to do. The last demon is showing itself right away and it's not hostile, but my employer wants me dead. Polly can try to refuse the job all she wants. The leash is on her neck still. I come to the wishing pond where, through sacrificing something of my own, it grants me one wish, which is bring back Alice. I have to go through 3 different challenges and perform the ritual with the demon egg larva and an imp horn to make a wish. At the end of the last ritual, Polly for a second returns to the director's office at the orphanage. There I see a diary of Valentina, who documented everything about children. In her diary she describes Polly's stubbornness, muteness, and disobedience. One thing that was too outstanding is that Polly had no known relatives, so Alice is not her sister. It doesn't matter, I have to bring her back. When I have everything prepared for the ritual, Kato and Kai show up. Kai wants to give away his horn, he doesn't want to be an imp anymore after his father died. I refuse his Alice's offer, since my bro will be a sought-after imp who is too weak to fight back and run away with his cat lungs. When the ritual is done right, the demon takes the golden larva and grants Polly's wish. Alice is born through the demon. The Tormented One is pissed and sends his hellhound to finish what I've started. My punishment for disobeying orders is to fight the worst demons of the abyss. The Tormented One hellhound is going to be first, then Valentina. The consequences I face are severe, but I've been through too much to turn back now. The Tormented One is protecting himself all the ways he can, but he's still chained up to one place to his disadvantage. Landing a few magazines into his face weakens him enough to break our pact and get my free will. His death doesn't lift the spell. Polly's still chained to his body, but thanks to his loyal dog's eye, she implants it to her eye socket and now can travel between dimensions. That's how the dog found Polly in the first place. Luckily, I've been in this position before. A single razor will help me to lift the curse. Now I'm free of anybody's will and can choose my fate. In the place where all the Tormented Ones are locked, I meet Alice and can decide what I really want from my life. The first option I have is the most meaningful. I've been killing for it after all. I choose to climb a ladder and get back to the normal life. Polly and Alice take a train to another city to leave their nightmares behind. Polly realizes she has to find peace with the past and throws away the lighter Alice made for her. Alice disappears together with the lighter. Polly made a choice to forget her imaginary friend, who brought her comfort in that hellish orphanage. Alice was the only one who helped Polly remain sane, even if she was just an illusion. I'm convinced Alice was an imaginary friend all along. It was even clearer when Polly found Valentina's diary, where it was said Polly had no known relatives. Moreover, Margot was too abusive and sadistic to exclude shy Alice from her games. Yet Margot never mentions Alice. I have one more reason to believe Alice is not real. When a person is surrounded by pain, the brain will find a way to cope with stress. The only option was to make up somebody alongside who will always give a hand and stay on your side. Polly realized that now she has a second chance for a better life and she leaves everything behind to start somewhere else from scratch. The second ending can be possible if Polly chooses to stay in the abyss and become the next Tormented One to take under control the fog and stop anybody who even thinks about taking her down. However, there is already somebody with blue nail polishing and in a blue jacket aiming at Polly. I have a theory that there in the abyss, the wishing pond made Polly's wish real and materialized Alice into a physical body. But Alice can exist only in the abyss, unless she makes a pact with the new Tormented One. Alice might probably know about that because her memories are of Polly's, so she knows how her wish to be alive in the real world can be granted. I guess it can be a premise for the DLC, but I have my own personal theory that Polly's journey through hell was inside her head, while she was locked inside the mental asylum. I can explain why I think so. Does the cage of the Tormented One remind you of something? Something like straitjacket? What if Polly was caught when she ran off from the orphanage? There are too many policemen to run away from, so when she got caught and locked inside the mental clinic, she made up this story about hell and her being so strong and powerful fighting demons who are also former policemen. She created Kai and Karo's characters from two boys she saw in the neighborhood at the beginning. Also, if we consider Polly's ability to make imaginary friends, it's highly likely she is trying to escape from reality in her own illusionary world where she is punished for her crimes, but she's made herself a hero to avoid guilt. Additionally, her orphanage looks like it was never set on fire. It looks like it's from the last day Polly remembered it, too clean and undamaged in some places. The demons she has to fight are too unconventional for the demons. What if because of her lack of imagination or her phobia, she perceives insects as demons because children in the orphanage wouldn't be allowed to read horror books or comics, hence unable to imagine really freaking out creatures. Besides insects, she is also scared of Valentina, who she is fighting inside her head. So maybe Polly's been locked in and the Tormented One's just her neighbor in a stylish straitjacket. She delved into her own comfort world where she can fight for her freedom, whereas in fact she got from one hellhole with beatings and abuse to another hellhole with beatings, abuse and pills.